Thanh Mai mến chào quý vị trở lại với kênh Việt ngữ của hệ thống truyền thông Asian Media Network. Thưa quý vị, trong những tuần vừa qua với những cái episode về chương trình Giấc mơ đến Mỹ hay còn gọi là My American Dream đã được rất nhiều quý khán thính giả khắp nơi ủng hộ và chúng tôi nhận được rất là nhiều những câu hỏi của quý vị gửi về cho chương trình EB3 lao động nhập cảnh Hoa Kỳ. Và thưa quý vị, người đồng hành cùng với chúng tôi trong chương trình này là chị Cathy Nguyễn, CEO của công ty My America Truly Wonder. Thanh Mai mến chào chị Cathy, chị có khỏe không thưa chị?
Chào Thanh Mai, chị Cathy rất khỏe, cảm ơn em.
Dạ vâng, thưa chị, mùa hè ở Arizona nóng quá chị Cathy ơi, thì em không biết là ở bên cái vùng Austin, Texas của chị em biết là cũng rất là nóng, nhưng mà chắc không có nóng bằng Arizona phải không chị?
Vâng, Austin thì nó đỡ humid hơn, nó mát hơn tại nó có hồ với núi nhiều đấy. Và hôm nay đấy, cái nóng này đã đem đến chúng ta đến chương trình đặc biệt hôm nay. Cathy xin giới thiệu với Thanh Mai và quý vị khán giả hôm nay đó là có một cái tin rất nóng còn hơn Arizona luôn.
Oh wow.
Tức là những cái mẫu tin từ khán giả và từ đối tác từ Việt Nam gửi qua rất là nhiều. Thế cho nên chúng tôi hôm nay rất hân hạnh giới thiệu với quý vị một đối tác của chúng tôi là anh Dominic Nguyễn. Anh là President and CEO của công ty Liberty Store Immigration, có văn phòng ở quận 1 Sài Gòn. Và cùng trong cái show này chúng ta còn xin trở lại với luật sư Gabriel Griesbaum ở trong firm của chúng ta. Thì hôm nay chúng ta cùng thảo luận những cái câu hỏi và những cái đề tài rất là hot trong thị trường lao động thẻ xanh ở Việt Nam hôm nay. Cathy xin hân hạnh giới thiệu anh Dominic Nguyễn và luật sư Gabriel Griesbaum sẽ là chủ talk show ngày hôm nay.
Và kính thưa quý vị, trong chương trình ngày hôm nay như chị Cathy đã nói đó lúc nãy là ngày hôm nay chúng tôi đặc biệt có hai vị khách mời. Đó là sự trở lại của luật sư Gabriel Griesbaum từ văn phòng luật Griesbaum ở Austin, Texas. Và đặc biệt nữa là ngày hôm nay có sự hiện diện của anh Dominic Nguyễn là President và CEO của công ty Liberty Star Immigration Service. And today we would like to welcome the two special guests who are going to be in the show today with us. First of all, I would like to welcome the return from Gabriel Griesbaum, the attorney Gabriel. How are you?
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Gabriel, you become so popular after episode 3 that a lot of people want to talk to you. This is it. I want to talk to the attorney. So thank you for your time to come back to the show today. And from Saigon, Vietnam, we have Dominic Nguyễn. Hi, Dominic. How are you?
Hello, Ms. Thanh Mai. I'm very pleased to be here today, joining the program to say more about the immigration. I'm fine. And how are you in Arizona?
Arizona is hot. It's a desert heat because it's the hottest state in America. Okay. However, it's a dry heat, so it's not like humid like Saigon, Vietnam, like Vietnam or other country, but it's dry. So it's I know it's hot, but it's how you say? We used to it. I live here in the last 30 years, so I'm used to the heat. So how is Saigon right now? I mean, how is the weather there? And
yeah, today we're having beautiful sunshine, and we are at like 8:30 in the morning.
Oh.
And I'm having this beautiful conversation with you under the beautiful sunshine.
That's great. So Dominic, since this is your first time come to the show, can you tell for me and the audience a little bit about yourself and your service?
Yeah, of course. Liberty Star Immigration, I have been doing this immigration section for like 5 years with Miss Cathy, and we do EB5, L1, and EB3. Before we used to do focus so much on the EB5 and L1, but recently EB3 is booming, and we are aiming to support as many Vietnamese people as possible, Vietnamese family I mean. to achieve their American dream. That's why we coordinate with Miss Cathy, with Gabriel, the attorney, and the sponsors to make sure that the Vietnamese families have their dream come true, the American dream.
That is great. EB3 is a wonderful program that helps change life, bringing the employee from Vietnam to America, but not only the employee, but their entire family. So, and they have green card for 10 years. That is wonderful and awesome. So I know that you have a lot of questions, and this is a hot question from your client from Vietnam, asking specifically to the attorney about the EB3 program. So now go ahead and ask Attorney Gabriel about this.
Thank you, Ms. Thanh Mai. So hello, Gabriel.
Hey, Dominic. Good to talk to you again.
Yeah, we gotta support our customer, and today I want to update to you some hot question from Vietnamese client in real time. Okay, so today we are gonna talk about adjust status.
Adjustment
Sections. Okay.
Yeah,
Adjustment section. So the first question I want to ask, a lot of people are asking, and they receive different information. So I want you to correct that. Okay. In a simplified way, simple way, and clear way for our clients and others to clearly understand and to identify the right way to do it. The first question, for example, if I have a U.S. tourist visa, I want to apply for an adjustment status in the USA. Can the applicant, the process can be faster than I do that in Vietnam, original way?
So, just as a background there, the adjustment of status process is usually you change from a non-immigrant status to an immigrant status in the USA. So when you want to adjust to an immigrant status in the USA, there has to be visas available. In a lot of categories, we see that visas become unavailable, or they do not become available in a predictable way, such that if you were to use the B entry process, which is possible, if you were to use that process, there would be a lot of unpredictable timing involved. It would be very difficult to, and if the process were to fail, for example, you did not find a timing window in which you could file the adjustment, then the result would be years of wait, or at least a year of delay in your ultimate receipt of the green card.
Wow, 8 years. So
no, a year, a year at least is what I would say.
Wow. So there's many elements, many factors that can affect the result of the process, right? Why? So it turns out. So should we let's say it's possible to do the adjustment process? Okay. Then could it be faster, and how long?
So it will not be faster to get a green card. It could theoretically be faster in exactly the right circumstance. It could theoretically be faster to get work authorization in the United States. But in my experience, work authorization is now taking up to 6 months after you file for the adjustment. And you can't file for adjustment until you've been in the country for 90 days. So we're talking about 9 months of being in the country with no work authorization before you could get work authorization. And frankly, that's recently anyway, that's slower than consular processing just to get the green card instead.
Wow. So 9 months just for maybe getting the work permits, right? 9 months open the US, and the tourist visa just lasts for 1 year, right?
And that's if you get the 6-month extension. It initially can only be valid for 6 months. Yes.
Yeah.
And then they've been denying those extensions, so that's not a good strategy.
Yes, a lot of risks to happen. So if the transfer, so maybe like if the transfer is done, okay, the adjustment are done accordingly. Let's assume it is done somehow, and the wife and the family of the applicant would their files be processed faster according with the applicant's files.
So, no matter how you do it, if you do it through consular processing in Vietnam or if you do it through adjustment in the USA, no matter how, you would want to do it ideally at the same time in the same place as your family. If you split up the family, then the primary applicant has to first receive a green card and then initiate, meaning then start the application process for the family, meaning that the family won't get green cards for additional months or even more than a year potentially.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
and Dominic, you asked a very good question. I also heard so many people asking too after they watch the show, and they say that I travel, I have a friend or I know somebody who on a tourist visa, meaning they come to America, travel, and they stay and converted to EB3. Is that your question, right? Because that they said it saves time. They can work right away and they don't have to wait 2-3 years like what Cathy and Attorney Gabriel mentioned in previous show. So that look like it's not the right way to do it.
It is sometimes possible at certain stages. And previous to 2022, they were actually approving those work authorizations within 90 days. That's no longer the case. Those work authorizations are taking much longer now. But also there's a lot of like I said, this process is possible. No one is saying that it isn't, but the process is fraught with risk. There's risks at every stage. There's risks at entry when the Customs and Border Protection Officer could give you less than 6 months on your initial I-94 entry, and you have to leave the country potentially in 30 days. That won't give you any, you would never have a window in which you could file 45 because you can only file 45 after you've been in the country 90 days on B. So a lot of times if they think that you're trying to do that, they may not give you 90 days on B. So that's just one example of an issue. Another issue that could happen is the visa availability could retrogress. And what that means is that the visa waiting period could get longer and longer. And we've seen that happen this year, all year. So the people who thought they'd be eligible to adjust status are no longer eligible to file. And so end up having to go back to home country anyway and could have started their consular process much sooner. So I never recommend this strategy unless there is a work status in the U.S. already. So, but if you're coming to the U.S. with the intention of using your B to adjust status, first of all, that's a misuse of the B, which already puts you at risk for an investigation, puts you at risk for a fraud finding. Then, even if you get here, all of the timing has to work out perfectly for it to function properly. And generally, recently, we have seen two factors primarily that have extended this out, and that's the unavailability of visas and the long wait times, or the long processing times on work authorizations. So with both of those factors, you just cannot reliably in 2023 get a B visa and expect to have the timing window available to adjust status in most cases.
Thank you. So, Dominic, do you have other follow-up question?
Yes. So, as that's really useful answer from Gabriel, because that so many trouble for our clients, and so I think there must be a targeted clients for the adjustment status visa, right?
Yes,
so
and those are for people who are living and working in the United States. So the primary target for the adjustment of status is people who are here on H-1B, who are here on L, who are here on potentially OPT EAD. Those are work statuses. That's what the adjustment of status is designed for, people who are here on established work status.
Okay, I see. So how about the students studying in the U.S., for example, student doing the abroad study in the USA, and they are finishing the college or the university, like 1 year left, or doing the master degree, and they want to stay and continue to be stay and transfer to the EB3 visa instead of going back to Vietnam and do it all over again from the first.
They're a much better candidate. Those are much better candidates for B or for adjustment of status. First of all, F is a much more favored status than B. The F student visa is a status where it's much longer term. The duration of status often is not defined, which allows you to stay much longer and have a much wider window to file for adjustment of status on the timing. F is a much preferred visa status to B.
I like that question because there's other people also ask about that too, about the international student come to United States and they would like to stay here. They don't want to go back to Vietnam. They want to stay here and work and find job here. So for that, would you recommend, and this question for Attorney Gabriel, would you recommend them to start early with the EB3 process? What would be the best time to apply so that when they graduate from college, got a degree, that they be able to stay instead of go home?
Well, if the primary goal is to stay in the United States long term, and the primary goal is not necessarily to maximize your job potential, because the EB3 program probably won't do that for master's degree students, for example. But if the goal solely is to stay in the United States, then you should start the EB3 process as early as possible, because the process does take quite a long time, and the locking in a job now means that you're going to be able to stay in your F status in the meantime, which is a valid status that that is favored. And so you'll be able to stay in your F status in the meantime in the United States, potentially even use your OPT if you have 1 or even 2 or 3 years of OPT work availability. If you're able to take advantage of all of those things, then that extends your timing window for a very long time on the adjustment of status. And in fact, that's what adjustment of status is designed for, is for people who are here for a long period and don't plan to go back to their home country before they change status to permanent resident.
Okay, but what if they find out the program cut it late? Let's say they already about to graduate from the degree, 4 years in the university. Is that too late to apply for EB3 and they have to go back to Vietnam?
I mean, it's hard to say. The timing is hard to nail down, but I mean, you will have at least 1 year of OPT work availability after you graduate. So you will have at least 12 months. If you're in a STEM program, you'll be able to extend that for another 17 months potentially, or 24 months depending. So you could, depending on your degree that you're receiving, have up to 3-ish years. But even if you only have the 1 year, that 1 year does give you an opportunity to find a position that would give you a longer term status that's better for adjustment. Or you could always return back to school and get another F status if you're not unable to find something in that window. If you're in the U.S. in F status, you can join another program, get another F status generally pretty cheaply, and keep your window open to file adjustment until your opportunity comes.
Yeah, so
okay,
that's great. So Dominic, go ahead.
Yeah, so the key point is to get the time as long as possible, right, Gabriel?
Right,
the time.
Keep your legal time in the United States.
Yes.
Right, because the problem with B is there's such a short time that it's very, very hard to make it work out where you're eligible to file for adjustment of status. The reason F is such a preferred visa is often it's multiple years. And, with a 3-year time window, for example, you will almost always are going to be able to find that time to file that 45.
I see. And in that circumstances, I have this interesting question. Okay, I have this really interesting question. How about an applicant going there by a B1 visa? All right.
Mm-hmm.
Then they apply for a course like English course. So they get to the F1, they transfer to the F1 visa. That's the question of the client. Mm-hmm. So is there anything wrong with that? And if there's anything wrong, can you correct that? And
no, that's totally fine. You can, B1 doesn't allow you to study, and it doesn't allow you to have an immigrant intent. By transferring to F1, you're not telling them you have an immigrant intent. So you never broke the promises of your B, but you changed your mind and now you want to study. That's okay. It's a natural and sort of, usually F is a very preferred visa that doesn't get denied. The student visa is very rarely denied. I mean, I think as long as you have a school that has accepted you and has an I-20 program and a DSO officer, because you do have to have a whole CVIS program set up at the school. It can't be just any school, right? But as long as you have the official program set up at the school, then usually this is not a challenge to get an F1.
Okay, I see. So it's easy for a student or tourist to be a student, right? But
if you have a cooperating school, I mean, you have to have a DSO officer sign an I-20 for you. So, you have to have a school that has agreed to work with you, but yes.
Mm-hmm. And the ultimate course, okay, the ultimate purpose, still changing to the EB3 program.
That's an acceptable. I think that's a much more sustainable strategy, a sustainable approach if they want to adjust status. Don't do it on B. Never do it on B. That is a more sustainable strategy. I do think that a lot of it depends on the program that they want to enter. By the way, STEM programs are highly preferred if they're going to confer a STEM degree, because then you can get up to 3 years in work authorization immediately after graduating. There are a number of ways you can get pretty long eligibility periods to stay in the U.S. on F.
Yeah, but that's mostly applicable for proper student. Like young people doing the university. But I'm talking about the ones who is like 40s, even 45, something like that.
It doesn't change anything. F is still a preferred visa. Now, you still have to have the school work with you. That's the key. The key is to have cooperation from the right officials of the school.
Yeah, for the verified school, right?
Right, it has to be it has to have the school with the CVIS certification.
Dominic, I want to mention this. Last week, when I interviewed Dr. Hoàng Nguyễn, and I asking him the question, like, for student, when you talk about student, in our mind, it's like young people at the age of, like 20 or something. So he said that he actually have a student who graduate from his college at the age of 65. So they actually encourage people to go back to school. And that doesn't, so age in America for college is not, there are no limitation on age when you apply for school. Is that my statement correct?
Agreed. Totally agree. I don't think that's going to be held against you. If, like I said, the F visas are very rarely denied.
Yes. So look like from what Dominic his client concern, and question is they can transfer from the B1, which is the tourist visa, travel visa, to F1 to decide to stay and study in America. And then while they study, they can also apply for EB3 and eventually they can stay in America. The only thing for that program, can they bring their family? When they convert from an F1 to a EB3 and their family, their kid, their wife still in Vietnam, can they add them all so they can come to America with them through EB3 program?
So students of dependents, dependents of students. So it's called an F2. That's an F2 status, and they have, they're able to go to school. They are not able to work. They are able to go to school, and they are able to otherwise participate in any other activity except working that you would imagine. So that would be for the kids. They would be able to come here and go to public school. once a residence was established. So you could bring the kids here, the family, on the F visa. That's a multi-entry visa. I mean, there's not really a problem. F isn't, the only issue is, I mean, there'll be timing issues at the back end. After you file 45, you're going to be locked. You can't leave the country, you can't work. But those issues we can solve, we can navigate. I would say generally that the children and spouses of students are generally fine. They're usually okay. I mean, usually you can get your kids in public school, for example.
Yeah, but they cannot work or anything until you can convert to the F1 to the EB3 and get the green card, then they can actually work. Is that correct?
Yes, they will all get green cards and they'll have all the rights of permanent residence, which would include any normal work.
All right.
Once they do the EB3 program.
Dominic, do you have any follow-up question for that?
Yeah, so that's just, I can assume that's a lot of expense in the time of waiting for the EB3 process to be approved, right? For the whole family, or even the applicant himself or herself.
Right. Because you're not going to be eligible to work, not until at least a year into a program, and even then that would be like part-time CPT type 20 hours a week work, and that would only be one person. So F is not a good visa if you need to work.
Okay. So what about doing the F just to do the EB3 faster? Does it actually faster a lot than opening the case original way in Vietnam?
I don't think so. And the reason is because you're still going to have to be, I think it's still slower, honestly. I mean, it's not necessarily slower, it could be faster, but the reason is because it's taking 6 months to get those work authorizations. Okay, and you're not going to be able to work until you get that work authorization if you're using F as your basis. So as soon as you file 45, you're not going to have you're not going to be able to extend F or do anything with F. So you're going to be in pending 45 status. You're going to be 6 months without work authorization. With right now, we're seeing the consular processing is going much faster than it used to. 2 years ago during COVID, consular processing didn't move at all. Yeah, it didn't move at all. It didn't do anything. There was year-long waits to get an interview. But we have seen those come down. Now we're down to about a 3-month wait for an interview. And once you get your interview, you should get your immigrant visa in your passport. Then all you have to do is enter the U.S. That's generally going to be faster, and you're going to have an actual green card. So I think that is, it's the faster route generally.
Wow.
It's not the faster route to get into the U.S. It's not the faster route to get into the USA, but it is the faster route to get a green card almost every time. Wow. So the consular processing in Vietnam right now is moving faster and faster right away, right? Yes. It was 2 years ago. The average time was somewhere in the neighborhood of 750, 780 days to get an interview, and then 2 years. Over 2 years. And then there was, it has recently been it's been under 100 days. Wow. That's good news, really good news for... Now, that's not a promise because it could go back up, but yeah, that's normal. Yeah, I know, but I know, but it's still good news comparing to the other risks they have to take if they choose the other, inappropriate way. Right. So if... I want to ask if Ms. Thanh Mai have any question because
I do have question for Attorney Gabriel as well. The EB3 program open to everyone from other country, not just Vietnam. So is there a quota for each country? For example, Vietnam can only have like 1,000 working visa, like EB3 visa, or is there no limit? There is a quota from each country, and it is because of that quota from each country that certain countries, for example, India and China, have waits on EB3 for 12 years, 15 years. Really? Wow. Vietnam is grouped in what we call rest of world, which is the ones that usually do not have any backlog. But
This year, we have seen a backlog, and it has been persistent. It has actually gotten longer as the year has gone on. So this year has been unusual. We have a longer backlog than usual. So we'll see. Usually in October each year, we see the backlog reduce dramatically because there's a new fiscal year. But, we can't promise that. We're just hoping for that.
Wow. So why is India and Philippines so long?
So Philippines is long, but China and India are the two longest. And the reason for that is because they have over 10 times as many applicants from India as they do from the rest of the world combined.
I see. Thank you. Well, this is very good information to know. And especially that still, put Vietnam is a shorter list, right? The lead time is not as long compared to India or China. They have to wait almost like 12 years for the EB3 visa. Dominic, do you have any more questions for Attorney Gabriel?
Yes. Gabriel, in that term, okay, according to that term, so Vietnamese still got the quicker line than the India and the China, regardless of recent applicant increasing applicants in Vietnam. It's still possible and it's still normal. It's not traffic jam in the line, right, Gabriel?
Well, to be honest, it has been slower this year than in most years. So it's true for EB2. Now, for example, I do a lot of EB2, which is just one category up from EB3. And in most years, Vietnam has no wait in EB2. In fact, 8 out of the 10 years that I've practiced, there's been no wait. This year, not only has there been a wait, but it's actually gotten longer since January. So that's unusual behavior for the wait time. So I am a little bit worried about it, to be honest.
You mean the EB2?
I'm talking about EB2 is better than EB3. EB3 is even longer right now. But we do expect it to go down. We do expect it to go down. But
all right.
Okay. It's not so longer, right? It's not so longer.
Well, so if you're trying to adjust status in the US on a B, it's way too long. If you're trying to if you can wait at the consulate in Ho Chi Minh City or whatever, then it's not as bad. It's something in the neighborhood of 9 to 11 months right now.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I got it.
So thank you, Dominic. You asked a lot of, I have to say, hot question for Attorney Gabriel, and because the time that on the show, the talk show, we have limited time, and also go by case. For example, each of the client might have different situation and different specific for their case, so they need to talk to consulting with you and with the Miss Cathy and the attorney separately to be able to understand better before they make the decision. So I again would like to, for the client who watching the talk show today, and if you still have questions specifically for your case, pick up your phone and dial the number on the screen to my Truly Wonder company, and we will have people to answer the phone for you. If you're from Vietnam, is through Zalo, be able to call that number or email or go to the website with the Truly Wonder. Or if you want to talk to Dominic Nguyễn, Dominic, what is the contact information in Vietnam for you?
If anyone have any question or want any support from our company, then you can reach us at libertystar.vn. That's our website, or through the phone call. The phone call number in Vietnam is 0966 616175. Okay, I read it again. 0966 616175. And you can reach us at 168 at Nguyễn Công Trứ Street. Okay, District 1, Ho Chi Minh City. Thank you.
Dạ vâng, thưa quý vị, số điện thoại vừa rồi của anh văn phòng Liberty Star Immigration Service của anh Dominic Nguyễn, tọa lạc tại số 168 Nguyễn Công Trứ, Nguyễn Thái Bình ở quận 1, Hồ Chí Minh City. Dạ vâng, và thưa quý vị, trở lại với thông tin thì quý vị có thể liên lạc với văn phòng của chị Cathy Nguyễn, đó là My Truly Wonder, ở địa chỉ là 6701 Jester Boulevard, Austin, Texas 78750. Và số điện thoại ở Hoa Kỳ cũng như số Zalo là 559 606 4011, 559 606 4011. Quý vị cũng có thể email cho chị Cathy ở số cathy@truliewonder.com hoặc info@truliewonder.com. Dạ vâng, and also Attorney Gabriel for a very good informative conversation today with all the information that you share that would help our audience to learn and to have a better understanding of the EB3 program. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us. Let's see in another episode, and we will discuss about more hot questions, right?
Yes. So this is an ongoing because this is a very good program that everybody want to learn more about it. So this episode is actually, it's kind of like an education for our audience to learn more about this program. So thank you. Dạ vâng, và chào mừng chị Cathy trở lại với cái talk show này. Thì thưa chị, nãy giờ chị đứng bên ngoài chị nghe cái câu chuyện, những cái câu hỏi rất là thú vị, rất là hay, phải nói là rất là hot của anh Dominic hỏi với luật sư Gabriel. Thì chị Cathy, chị có chia sẻ gì không thưa chị, cảm nhận của chị?
Cảm ơn Thanh Mai. Thanh Mai nói đúng. Nãy giờ chị theo dõi cái câu đối thoại, những cái câu hỏi của Dominic và Gabriel thì nó đánh đúng vào những trọng tâm rất là hot bây giờ. Để mà tóm lại đấy, rất nhiều những thông tin để mà quý vị có thể hiểu được trong vòng một cái talk show. Nhưng mà lần này thì chúng tôi xin tóm lại cho quý vị hiểu là thứ nhất, các bạn không nên dùng visa B1, B2, tức là visa du lịch đấy, để mà tìm cách đi vào Mỹ xong rồi chuyển diện hoặc là xin đi làm qua diện thẻ xanh lao động. Nó rất là rủi ro. Nó rủi ro từng cấp bậc một. Mà nhất là bây giờ cái giai đoạn nó càng kéo dài ra. Và khi đó mình dùng sai mục đích, gọi là mình misuse đó. Tại vì B1, B2 là gì, là travel. Và mình misuse tức là mình dùng cái travel là mình đi làm, cái đó là đã sai rồi. Là mình mở cho một cái cơ hội để mà các vị bên USCIS điều tra. Và mỗi giai đoạn, tại vì quý vị nhớ nó ra rất nhiều giai đoạn trong vấn đề EB3, thành ra không nên, và nó không có phải là không phải là bất hợp pháp, nhưng mà nó là một cái rất rủi ro, mà rủi ro từng giai đoạn một. Và chúng ta đã làm, đầu tiên là làm một cái gì đó là không đúng với mục đích của B1, B2. Và cái hồi nãy các bạn có nghe về F1 đấy, thì các bạn học sinh ở đây, khách của chúng tôi đã rất nhiều về các bạn học sinh, sinh viên ở đây. Thì các bạn đang học đại học, mới học đại học và đang ở trong tình trạng OPT, tức là thực tập đấy, 1 năm đến 3 năm. Thì nó rất tốt cho các bạn để mà xin đi làm và được ở lại Mỹ. Chúng tôi những cái trường hợp đó là thành công 100%, mà nó nhanh hơn 1 năm cơ, khoảng 1 năm. Và sẵn đây thì chúng tôi cũng xin giới thiệu trước với quý vị. Chúng tôi sẽ có vài episode nói chuyện về một cái trường dạy nghề đại học của chúng tôi ở Arizona. Nó rất là thú vị. Nó sẽ mở ra cho các bạn lớn tuổi cũng như là các học sinh trong diện lao động thì cũng là 18 đến 55 luôn, đi học nghề ở trường này. Và con của quý vị và spouse của quý vị là vợ chồng quý vị được đi theo. Đương nhiên không được đi làm, nhưng trong khi mình học nghề đó mình xin làm EB3 thì cái đó là rất là tốt cho adjust status, tức là mình chuyển diện. Thì chúng tôi sẽ có những cái talk show về cái trường thú vị này. Xin cảm ơn Dominic, xin cảm ơn rất nhiều đến luật sư Gabriel đã chia sẻ rất là một đề tài rất là hot bây giờ. Cảm ơn các bạn, cảm ơn Thanh Mai.
Dạ vâng, cảm ơn chị Cathy đã đúc kết lại, và anh Dominic cũng như cảm ơn anh đã đến với chương trình ngày hôm nay. Trước khi gửi lời chào quý khán thính giả thì anh có điều gì muốn nói nữa trước khi anh gửi lời chào?
Dạ vâng, rất cảm ơn chị Thanh Mai và chị Cathy Nguyễn đã cùng tạo nên một cái buổi talk show rất là hữu ích cho rất nhiều người Việt Nam đang có những cái lăn tăn, rất nhiều cái lăn tăn trong cái chủ đề này, và hy vọng là chúng ta có thể là cung cấp thêm cho khách hàng những cái thông tin hữu ích và có lợi trong những cái talk show tiếp theo. Quý vị nếu mà muốn tìm hiểu thêm những thông tin hữu ích thì hãy tiếp tục theo dõi chương trình của Asian Media Network để có thể biết thêm nhiều thông tin cập nhật mới nhất từ chúng tôi.
Dạ vâng, cảm ơn anh, và Thanh Mai rất cảm ơn chị Cathy đã luôn đồng hành cùng chương trình này. Những thông tin chị cũng như là những người partner của chị gửi đến cho chương trình là những thông tin rất là hữu ích. Và Thanh Mai xin hẹn gặp lại chị cùng tất cả mọi người trong chương trình phát thanh vào lần tới. Cũng như quý khán thính giả cảm thấy đây là một cái chương trình hữu ích thì xin quý vị hãy subscribe to channel của chúng tôi và follow để mà quý vị sẽ không miss những cái video mới nhất. Chương trình này sẽ được phát hình vào mỗi tối thứ ba hàng tuần trên kênh của Asian Media Network, trên các trang mạng xã hội gồm có YouTube, Facebook và cái website của chúng tôi là www.asianmedianetwork.com. Quý vị cũng có thể xem lại những cái episode cũ trên cái YouTube channel cũng như là trên website và Facebook của chúng tôi. Và xin hẹn gặp lại quý vị trong chương trình phát hình vào kỳ tới. Xin mến chào.